All right. Hello to all the viewers. We're back with another edition of the Partner Spotlight that Game does with all the various people and organizations that are trying to make this dream come true. This one is slightly left of center. I wasn't sure how this would fit in with the entrepreneurial mindset. But as you all will discover in the course of this conversation, we actually found that it's a great way to get students to go down the pathway that we're looking at. And I think to some extent, that's the beauty of what the Alliance is looking at. Sometimes I think that entrepreneurship is a proxy for leadership. But if you go out there and you tell people you want to become a leader, I'm not sure how many people want to say, but you go out there and tell some of them you want to go out there and maybe make some millions. So that's, I don't think, the only joy. Within that, maybe a few of them will show. And it turns out that there is a connection. So I have Priya and Josephine with me. We have CMCA with us. Thank you very much for being part of this journey. Thank you very much for coming on this call.
Thanks, Shiv. You said leader, try active citizen. You'll get even less takers.
As they all say, everything is in sales. So we need to go out there and do that. So I think the viewers will want to know how the journey of CMCA began and what the inspiration was behind it. I believe Josephine, who's here with us, is the first possible person to come on board along with you, Priya. So I think both of you are well placed to share a bit of that story with us.
Joe can share that, the starting of CMCA, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the CMCA journey began in 1999. Okay, and it began with a cycle rally. So I think at that point, the NGOs, Swabhimana and Public Affairs Center, where CMCA was housed, was working on governance issues, and they were working basically with resident welfare associations. And Manjunath Sadashiva, who was with Public Affairs Center at that time, and Vrinda, felt that we should take the same thing maybe with the kids, because they'd be more responsive and not as cynical. And so it all began with a cycle rally, and we had I think 2,500, 3,000 students who turned up and cycled for a clean, green, safe Bangalore. And this was in 99. And it didn't stop with that. We went on to form civic clubs in schools. And, I think that's how our journey began. Priya, you want to add something?
No, that's how we began. We began as a cycle rally, and really the impetus came from children, because we didn't really know. We didn't have a plan or anything. It was just a cycle rally, and then the children said, "Okay, what next?"
Yeah.
And the teacher said, "Can you do something in schools?" So we said, "Okay," and we started in 12 schools in Bangalore, and that's how we grew.
Yeah. So if you ask us, in 99, we didn't have a roadmap, as this is what we're going to do year 1, year 5, year 10. No, but it just grew. From the cycle rally to summer camps to CMCA clubs in schools, and here we are now.
So there's a little takeaway there for the audience. You don't know where something magical is going to start.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I guess for those of you who go on to become the entrepreneurs, and I hope some of you are listening in, that you don't know where you'll find inspiration. But I think one thing has probably stayed with CMCA over the years, which was where the starting point came for you all. Would you talk a little bit more about how you've seen, the students asked you, what next? So they've obviously continued to ask you that, because we're 20 odd years later, they're still there.
Yeah.
So could you, on that note, share an example with us of a student who stayed with you on a really long, for a really long journey, and used what they went through with you all, maybe in their everyday lives?
So we do have students who were in our clubs in the 8th grade, who then get back to us in college or when they've just started working. And many of their career choices have been influenced pleasantly by CMCA. So they have taken on to, for example, we had a marine biologist, or someone who's involved in other NGOs. And they all do get back to us saying, CMCA influenced me in so many ways, that my course or my area of specialization or where I work has been influenced by CMCA. And to us, it's mind-boggling, because it's just a 1-year engagement in school. It's not like we have held them right through. It's just 1 year of CMCA, which is in one classroom period a week. And yes, the campaigns they run and I guess the discussions they have at home and with their peers in school, it seems to have left leaves behind a kind of an impact which has an influence on many things they do, which are actually transformational later, including career choices. So while we do, anecdotally, we have thousands of stories each year, and we did do a longitudinal to see where our members actually end up and how is CMCA influenced. But now we find many of them are actually getting back and volunteering with us or even fundraising for us. And it feels great to see that we have so many alumni now. After 20 years, we can actually see that traction across institutions and across cities.
Really glad to hear that, Game's much younger. We're only about, we're not even at the 5-year point. But
yeah.
One of our hunches has been that if you seed the idea at a young stage, it will stay. And I'm really glad to hear from you all that that has been your own journey as well. So at that point, let's talk a little bit more about how socially conscious citizens and what you all are working in actually fits in with the whole entrepreneurial and entrepreneurial mindset and potentially entrepreneurship journey that we're hoping to spark with you all.
Yeah, actually, that was a discovery for me too, Shiv. When you said in the beginning that where do we two actually meet? And I was looking at your frame and I was looking at the higher level outcomes. And I realized that so much of what we're trying to do when you say that perseverance or grit or fortitude or to accept failure, not to really see failure as failure, but more as how can I correct and respond to this? Or how can I bounce back? All that is pretty much how a citizen has to engage with state, especially the way our government structures are arranged. So many of those life skills actually are pretty much the same across. And no matter how much we choose to try and live in isolation, ultimately, the community and even the solutions that you seek to address as an entrepreneur lie probably with community or with a felt need. I think the only divergence slightly is monetizing it, but I think the mindset is pretty much the same.
So just to add on to that bit, and I think one of the areas that really struck me over there was we were talking about how do you get people to believe that they can make a change? How do you get people to believe that they can solve a problem? Every entrepreneur out there who goes out there to go and pitch for money is asked the question, what's the problem you're going to solve? So we really like the fact that students are going to get to try that. And they're going to go through the whole cycle of today I'm a hero. I'm going to go out there and make a change. Then realize no one's talking to me. Then realize, oh God, change doesn't happen that easily. Then realize I could give up, but hey, no, maybe I need to keep at it. And if I plug away at it for many, many years, maybe I'll change something at the community level. And the other bit that we really, really liked in your program, and I'm going to ask you to talk about that, is how do you, you shared one aspect with me where the students actually go out there and are able to share with their local community leaders and in the school what's happening, which is wonderful. Can you talk a bit about that one? When they do an aspect of what is in there, if you could share that aspect, I think,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's at a school level and at a community level, we do these audits. I think Joe can, say better the school profile that we do, which is not just all about this is not there, that is not there. It's also about what is good about your school. So I think Joe can share a little bit about the school profile, the right RTE or the right to education audits that children do.
So I think one of the things that we really, really liked as we started speaking to you was that students would get to go through that whole journey of, I'm going to go out there and make a change. I'll go out there and try and make a difference. And the student attempts it, and then nothing happens. The universe is quiet. The letter is ignored. There's nothing moving when he or she reaches the government office. And then she starts realizing, change is not that easy. Maybe I should give up. Maybe I should find a way to stay there. And to us, that was exactly what the journey is that an entrepreneur needs to go through, which is failure at one step doesn't really mean that it's going to keep happening to you and you keep plugging away at it. The other bit that I really liked, and Josephine, if you could share that with the audience, was, there's a school audit which was done. And when I first heard about it, I thought that, everyone's going to be really unhappy and we'll only find one side of the story. Could you talk about the two sides of the story that comes out in that exercise and describe what the exercise is? Because I know that's one of the major tools and techniques that CMCA uses to work with the students.
Yeah, sure, Shiv. We call it the school profiling exercise, where we actually orient kids to, and especially these are for the government school students, as to what their entitlements are, under the right to education, what they're supposed to get when, whether it's their midday meals, whether it's safe drinking water. So they're actually oriented to what they're entitled to. And then we actually take them through this questionnaire or a checklist of this is what should be in school. Okay. And so actually while they're looking for things that they don't have, they're also checking off things that are available in school. So, after they've done the survey, after we put our findings together, and these students actually meet authority figures in school, like, either the headmaster or the principal, and make a presentation. They actually present both sides. It's not like, accusatory or demanding, saying, this is what we're supposed to have and this is what we don't. But instead, saying, okay, these are the things that are already in place and we appreciate it. But, if you could do something about the others. And the other thing that you said, Shiv, about them being resilient, right? I think in every session we mention it. It doesn't happen easily. If it happened easily, we wouldn't be here. So it's just about trying. So we say, even if you make a phone call and you don't get a response, try again. And anything that we do, we actually, in fact, do live demonstrations. We call a helpline number during class and say, okay, place our complaint. And sometimes that person might not answer the phone. So we tell them, what, we try again too. So yeah, I think it's the good, the bad, the trying, and the trying again is a part of learning. Yeah.
Josephine, as I hear you speaking, I'm circling back to Priya's earlier input to us that maybe the final objective is different. But one thing that I'll share with the viewers over here is that we find that a whole bunch of businesses have been formed in spaces which ideally shouldn't exist. And that would be if the delivery of whatever service is happening. And I know at GAME, we wrestle with existential questions like that, which is, should we be pushing private sector or private enterprise to be coming into that space? Should we be having government to have that space? We don't know the right answers, but we often say that you don't know where you're going to find the problem. So maybe the end is I go in down this pathway and I find the problem that I want to solve. And who knows, both ways could find it. The one bit that I'll share with the viewer at this stage is, as we've done research, we found businesses which have found a happy coexistence with government bodies at there. So it doesn't have to be win-loss solutions, win-win-win for everyone, the environment, all of those would be what we would hope that our students will deliver over time. All right, on the next bit is, as you're working with your students, I know that you all look at elements like critical thinking, what you just mentioned, resilience, empathy, problem solving, you're looking at them working as teams, all of the things, of course, that we at the EMC level dream about for them to get that. Could you share, you mentioned this, Josephine, and I'll put the question back at you, that you do it in real life and you show the students that, hey, we tried, we failed, we got to go back and do it. Can you share another example if you can? Like I know Priya shared some from a longitudinal aspect, but something which has happened more recently where they've actually come up with something innovative and it's like a success story of some sort.
Yeah.
Or even a glorious failure story. Like if you fail with where you learned something. So yeah.
Yeah. So in fact, Shiv, the content that we take to our kids is more or less same every year, right? Whether it's in Mumbai, Bangalore, or Hosur, Biddi, the content that we take is same, but the output that we see is so different. So whether it's empathy, critical thinking, when we take it to the kids and when they come out with something like a campaign, each campaign is so different, so innovative. So in fact, we got feedback from the people from the society saying that there was this student who went up to them and requested that, support staff like the security, the housekeeping, be a part of the Republic Day flag unfurling. And they actually allowed it. So, when we talk about empathy, they did the campaign in school. Did it stop with that? No, this child has gone on and done this. We've had stories where during the Maklagram Sabha, we've had stories where, there's this child who's asking for a hearing aid for his classmate, saying, my classmate has hearing issues, isn't doing well in class. Is it possible for you to get him a hearing aid? And in fact, the disabilities committee of the Gram Panchayat took it up, they sanctioned it, and the child's got his hearing aid. So when we talk about empathy, it's many things. We've had, I know you asked for one example, but I'm sorry. There's so many, like you have kids who stop on the road because they're hearing, a squeaking sound under the, the drain, and they go there and they find a puppy that's abandoned and hurt, and, they take it to the vet. So these are stories that we hear, and it's not from, one particular program. Like I said, Maklagram Sabha is from rural Karnataka. The other one's from Mumbai. The dog stories from Bangalore. So we see the impact.
So Josephine, again, like, to me, the more I listen, I see the connection to entrepreneurship very clear. Like, I think the most powerful leaders of organizations are those who are able to connect at all levels of the organization. The day I think, maybe this is a personal belief, but I feel that I've seen it reflected in lots of successful businesses. If you look at every person in your organization, from the person doing the smallest job to the person doing the largest job, and if our kids can get all of them to believe that what they're doing is critical and builds to the whole, I think there are chances of successful, sustainable businesses. So as I'm speaking to you, it seems clearer to me. And I hope our students will also buy into that as well. So here's a question for you. And this one is targeted at all the other organizations that GAME is going to go out there and chase for a partnership. From that side of it, what's the difference between trying to do this work as CMCA alone or as part of an alliance? And I know there's a plus and a minus to everything. We'd love an honest response on both sides. So sort of that, what can we change for the future partners we're trying to bring in to the quicksand that is GAME, that I joke over there sometimes with people. But yeah, what would you share with us on that front?
Shiv, to be honest, with GAME, it's been pluses from the start. CMCA has always tried to, it's easy to say, we should collaborate as a sector. The development sector doesn't collaborate enough. We don't trust each other enough. We must partner more often, but we've never really found the means to do that. And I must say, GAME and the way you guys think has really opened up. In a matter of months, we've started seeing things very differently. So I think it's been a big gain for us to be associated with GAME Alliance. And definitely the way you, the transparency, or the way that which you share among the alliance partners, which we share with each other knowledge or outputs, is kind of has taught me a lot personally when I head an organization, that it certainly feeds back into CMCA. I think, I don't think we can go back to those days of going solo. I think collaboration is where it's at, and we can't just be, a good friend of mine said, who happens to be a co-founder, said that, we can't just be constantly a land of pilots. We keep piloting, and we just keep seeing to find that obstacle to scale. And the scale can only come if we collaborate. And I don't think we are too far apart in what we're trying to accomplish. Ultimately, we're looking at just humane people who are also successful. We can't possibly expect people to contribute to community on an empty stomach. So if you look at it holistically, how we can contribute to people's lives, even entrepreneurship or social justice is not really too far from each other when it comes to a successful human being.
So I'll also share with the viewers at this point that we're seeing a partner like CMCA trying to forge a new partnership for the Alliance for us as well. And that's what I think the founders at GAME always thought about. I'll confess that even when I got involved, at a personal level, I was a little susceptible, but I truly believe that it is a powerful way to try and solve a problem, because you don't need to learn all the skills yourself. Of course, there will be challenges. Of course, there will be free riders. Of course, there will be all those elements which will happen. But I think if everyone can come with a mission lens, which I think is starting to come in, we'll make that difference for the children which are out there as well. Okay, so on that note, the Alliance is looking for partners of different kinds, like in terms of, we don't say that our partners will only be not-for-profits or our partners will only be corporate organizations or it will only be those kinds. So question to both of you, Josephine and Priya, that what do you think, what is the other kinds of support or partnership that the ecosystem needs to try and bring to this cause for it to happen? This cause being people trying to make a difference in their homes, in their communities today, in their jobs, in their startups tomorrow. What else should the ecosystem be bringing to the table?
Joe, would you like to start?
You go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, Shiv, it's been a learning for me, you know. In the beginning, it just feel like silos. You know, you have free market, and then you have the state, and then you have society, and then you have a struggling civil society trying to, fight everyone and trying to do good. And then over the years, there are good people everywhere, and intention is everything. And I don't think you can separate, livelihood from contributing to community. There's no need to. I mean, maybe one can, but maybe there's no need to really. And even the way state engages with civil society, we have such shining examples of government officers and politicians who believe in the power of collaboration with civil society. So I think there are good people everywhere. It's a question of then finding that cultural match and then just going ahead and collaborating. I don't see, and we find that cultural match more often than we don't. Because I think over the years, everyone has learned. I think we've all gone through the frustration of why haven't we been able to work together? Why are we not collaborating enough? And everyone has brought those learnings now, to the table. And I think we've all now wiser and hopefully better able to work together. I don't know if I've answered that question the way you.
No, it's as I said, there is no right or wrong answer. Yeah. This is a problem which has got many elements. There are parts of the problem that we cannot solve. There are parts of the problem that if we do try to solve, we create newer ones. Yeah. And I think the more, I think that one bit that you mentioned, that if we can get everyone with the same intention, some sort of magic will happen. Along the way, the sparks will fly, but that's part of the process. Yeah. So on that note, it brings me to the last question for this evening or this afternoon session, which would be, what would make 2021 a successful year? And I know we've had a tough 2020, yeah. But 2021 for CMCA, what would you want to look back on this year and say, hey, we got that done in this year?
I think there's so much happening, right? So I think if we can convert some of our ideas into, some of those dreams or ideas into some kind of a reality, I'm very keen to see if CMCA could work directly with children at scale, and in that, we're trying some good stuff together. So I do hope the Game Alliance and what we are trying to accomplish is one of the big successes for CMCA, definitely. As part of the Alliance, I think we're doing some really innovative stuff. And like I said, I've learned a lot. So I'm hoping that we win together. That would be great for CMCA. And apart from that, I think, some forays outside Karnataka, some programs that scale rapidly. Those are the things that I think would be good wins for CMCA. From what we've been through in 2020, I think we've done a great job converting them into opportunities. I don't think you'd have thought like this if we were comfortably running our existing programs the way we've been running for years. So I think we have actually converted some of them to opportunities. So I think that has given us a good platform now to take it forward. So we must take it forward.
All right, Josephine, Priya, as we've had Priya speak like an entrepreneur would, which is to look for opportunity where the rest of the world will see disaster. We shall end this conversation here, and we hope to be able to bring CMCA back to the spotlight a few months down the line, where we'll have stories of what we've done together. Thank you for tuning in for another session of Partner Spotlight. Thank you to both our guests for being with us. And it's been a pleasure talking to you and, of course, working with you.
Thank you, Shiv.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.